to my channel. And oh gosh, I miss September. I just uploaded one of the few last, not some of the last remaining videos where she's been featured, and yeah, she was in rare form. I missed her. I really want to bring her back, but I think it's time for her to get an upgrade, so I have to start working on some new avatars for September. I think I'll start doing that. But anywho, welcome back to my channel, and today you're seeing me with a bunch of sketch pads in front of me. So let me hop through those disclaimers and then we're gonna hop into what I'm doing today. Before I get started, of course I have those disclaimers I need to get out of the way. I live near a major highway here in the country, Belize, so you will hear those motor vehicles in my background. Where I live, there's also a lot of wild birds. You may hear them calling, chirping, and crying in the background. And thirdly, I have dogs. My neighbors have dogs, so if anyone comes in this neighborhood, you will hear those dogs, including my own, start barking. And with that, I get back to my regular scheduled program. Fourth disclaimer, it is currently raining. It's been raining all day, and well, actually all night. I'm doing this early in the morning, and it was raining all night. I actually had to get up to close the window, and yeah, so I hope the rain beating on the rooftop is not too distracting to you, and we can actually focus on what we're doing today. Okay, so what am I doing today, guys? And no, I did not recently buy these sketch pads here. I've had these sketch pads for almost 2 years. The youngest is about 2 years old. The oldest probably would be this one here, and that's this one here. And he's probably about 2.5 years old. I've had this. And when I started getting into watercolor, one of the things that I saw some of my YouTubers use was sketch pads. So I think I first bought this one, and I didn't like the texture of it. This is the Fluid. It's not Fluid 100, but I think it's from the same company, but it's called Fluid Hot Press Finish Watercolor Paper. It's 140 pounds, 300 GSM, acid free. It has 15 blocks. I think now I'm down to like 8 sheets because I was trying to use it and it just didn't work for me. But yeah, and then I think after this I bought the Canson XL watercolor paper, which I kind of work with, but there was just something off for me with that watercolor paper, and I tried to work with it, and that's when I got into using the Fabriano Studio 25% cotton, and I just started experimenting with papers, find out which one I really enjoy working with. So yeah, my journey in art has actually been a journey because I've been discovering things I like working with, and hot press paper is not one of them, unfortunately. Then I started getting into this whole AliExpress revolution or evolution, and I got about 2 years ago, I got the Academy watercolor paper. This is from Bao Hong, and I had 2 textures. I first bought this one, which is, and these are 100% cotton, guys. So this was my way of trying 100% cotton, and yeah, this is also a smooth finish, but it's not as smooth as this one, and I never really worked with it. I actually got it because of the price. It was actually a pretty good price on AliExpress, and they gave you 20 sheets. It's 5 now. It is 7 inches by 4.9 inches, or 180 millimeters by 125 millimeters. So yeah, I thought this would have been great if I wanted to do watercolor postcards to send to friends. And then shortly after that, I got this one here, and this too is from Bao Hong, the academic watercolor paper, 100% cotton, 300 GSM, 260 millimeters by 180 millimeters, or roughly 10.2 inches by 7 inches. And I wanted to get cold press, but what had happened was I accidentally ordered rough instead. So yeah, this is rough texture. I tried working with this a couple times and it was just too unbearable for me. So yeah, I just put it away, and then I got into the whole cold press revolution, or evolution I should say, and I started working with those, and I fell in love with the cold press paper. Just my like little journey into watercolor paper. So yeah, these are actually watercolor blocks. And just to explain what watercolor blocks are, watercolor blocks, unlike watercolor pads and watercolor sketchbooks, are bounded on either both sides, or in this case all four sides. This one here from Bao Hong, it's academic watercolor paper, is bounded on all four sides, but where you see this little line that says open, there's a little part here that you can use a palette knife to kind of pry off the top layer, and then you can, it has a fresh paper underneath. The beautiful thing about these watercolor pads is that you don't need to stretch the paper before you use them because they're pre-stretched, and secondly, you don't need to tape down the edges of the paper before you use them, because being on a watercolor pad and being bounded with this nice thick board here, it allows it to hold steady and it allows it not to move. And only if you want a nice clean edge, then you can put tape down if you wish, but you don't have to put tape down to keep the paper sturdy, which is a good point. This fluid one here is bounded, but this one is bounded only on two sides. These two sides are bounded, and it's not bounded on the lateral sides. And finally, we have this baby. Now this baby, as you can see clear, is still in its packaging. And I don't even know if it's a watercolor pad bounded on all four sides, or a, I hope the glitter's not bothering you too much, or a or just a regular pad that's bounded only on one side, because it's still in its packaging. Again, I thought this would be cool to be used like this for like to send postcards to friends. And yeah, that's about it. So now let's hop into what we're doing today. Okay, so I have a little illustration in here, all pre-drawn up, all pre-lined up. And this illustration I actually drew last night. And it's just something nice and simple. I'm really accepting my art style, this very coloring booky kind of style. And so I'm really accepting it, and I'm trying to hone into it. So yeah, and because I'm accepting it and trying to hone into it, I find it makes me draw things much more easier than before. So like it just comes naturally to me, which is really cool. Okay, I brought you guys in a bit closer because we're about to paint up. The paints I'll be using is actually these. These paints are Dick Blick and the Uric Artist Quality Watercolor paints that I got from Dick Blick. I think I featured these already in future videos. I've swatched them out. I've tested their light fast capabilities here in the country of Belize. And I cannot say all paints from Dick Blick and Uric have these qualities, but I have 4 colors from the Uric Artist Quality Watercolor set and 3 colors from the Dick Blick. So yeah. And you know what? I think I'm tapering down on my stuff, because even when I think about buying watercolor paints lately, I don't want to buy every single color in the rainbow. I mean, I just want to buy a few colors, test them out, and just have colors that are able to do mixability with and work with different mixing combinations. So not every single color I will have ultramarine blue and yellow ochre. I mean, in this color combination, there is no ultramarine blue. There is actually, in the Uric watercolor set, I have cerulean blue, alizarin crimson, English yellow, and hooker's green. In the Dick Blick watercolor set, I have cobalt turquoise, quinacridone rose, and bismuth yellow. And that's my color combination for this set. Cool, huh? So now that you've seen what I'm working with and what I'm working on, let's get our color up, okay? Okay, my thought process going through this was trying to control some definition, trying to highlight some of the colors I'm using, and also trying to control the bubble. We're going to talk about the bubble in another video and where I learned it from. But yeah, as you can see here, I'm going in with some quinacridone rose. And I also have the bismuth yellow and the English yellow. Did some color mixing. I also used hooker green. and cerulean blue. I don't know why I draw leaves and flowers. Honestly, I don't. I'm showing you guys how I do color mixing here, just to show you how I mix them up. I don't go from my actual color palette. I actually take out the colors I want and then I just mix those from there. And you can see here that when it came to the leaves, I like that gritty, grainy, textury kind of feel for the leaf. So I was actually trying to recreate that just for the leaves and trying to leave the flowers with this very smooth, even surface. I'm going back in there because I want the inner part of the flower to look so much more darker and so much more richer than the outside of the flower. So I'm using some quinacridone rose mixing with some bismuth yellow. And there you are. I'm using, I think that was English yellow I'm using for that part, and going back outside with the orange. And where a shadow or overlay might be, I'm using that quin rose to kind of show that texture in there, just trying to show some kind of definition and separation between these petals. And I'm doing the same thing when it comes to the overflap of that leaf. I'm using Hooker's green here to kind of show shadow, and I just fell in love with it. And then I realized my stem is too yellow, so I kind of highlighted that over with a little more wash. And you see guys, I'm just going back in there. This was so much fun. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the end part. Thank you. Welcome back to the end piece, guys. Let's wrap it up. Yeah, that was fun. That was really relaxing. It's kind of funny you did hear me singing and just, you know, beating out, just listening to some music and just singing while I was doing that painting. Yeah, I have my palette right here, and all in all, I had fun. I had so much fun doing it, and I enjoyed the process really much. I hope I was able to let you guys into some of my thought process while I was painting and why I chose certain colors. And I only have 7 colors to work from this particular palette, so yeah, it's really limited, and I don't have any intentions at this moment to get any more of those type of paint, not because I don't like it, but because I really want to force myself that when I pick up a certain particular type of paint, I want to be forced to work with a limited color palette. I know a lot of YouTubers, just a side note here, a lot of other YouTubers and artists like to mix up their paint brands and keep them in huge palettes of maybe 48 or 24s, or even mix up a 12 palette set with maybe you have some Daniel Smith, some M. Graham, some Schminke, and some Sennelier. I don't like to mix up my paint sets. Even paint sets like these that are mixed up, they're pretty much still very much organized. So yeah, and if I'm working with one, let's say I'm working with one palette, I call this one palette, then I'll know I'll be working with either the Blick Artist watercolor paints or the Urith Artist watercolor paints, or I could work with either one. You know, so when I pull this, I'm working only with this palette, and I actually prefer working that way. I am hoping you guys notice that I don't really have a palette that is just blended. I think that's the only one so far that I have blended with different types of paints in it, from different paint companies, I mean. But most of them I keep pretty separate, and I just work with them as I go along. And that's about it. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this video. Sorry, I had a palette knife in my hand because I'm gonna rip this off when I'm done. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey. Thank you guys so much for your like, your comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm truly honored and blessed to have you along on my journey. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.